here goes to day 11 left on my contract at the school, and I don't know what's gonna happen after that. So I guess we'll see if I'm gonna go back to the district, if I'm going to find another job over the summer. I'm not sure yet. The other day I went to the indoor track to see where I stand for my stamina, if I could still do the 25-minute run, because like I said, I've been doing 15 minutes because I've gained so much weight back. I was up at 153, so all the weight that I've lost over the year, I actually gained it back. So there goes another setback, but I'm not gonna stress over it. I went to do my run Tuesday, and ironically I did 25 minutes, and so I was surprised. But right now, before I go to work, I'm gonna do another cardio session for the week. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do another 25-minute run, but I am going to try it. As far as weights, my weight training is still pretty consistent in the gym. I gotta admit, I did shoulders and chest the other day, and I'm starting to see a little growth on my shoulders. I don't know if it's obvious on the videos, but I've been lifting really heavy because I'm trying to still build some nice broad shoulders. Like I said, my figure competition goal is still in the making. I am not going to put that aside. I'm just not going to create this important rounded that I have been over the years. I'm just going to go with the flow, because based on my situation, I can stress over when I'm gonna accomplish that goal, how it's gonna play out for me, what month or anything like that. I just have to I guess, stay persistent. That's the only thing I could do. So the goal is still there. I'm not sure when is it going to happen, but who knows, it might be this year. I'm gonna be 52 this year, so I'd like to accomplish that goal of mine. Anyways, I also wanted to mention a hospital visit that I had on Monday night with my daughter. She wanted to go to the emergency room, so she's been wanting to go to the emergency room for the last couple of weeks. And her idea of going to the emergency room was just, Mom, I don't feel safe. It's just all over. Her thoughts are all over. But she also mentioned therapy for the last few weeks, and I just kept telling her, you don't need an emergency room for that. We could do outpatient therapy sessions. They have programs available if you need to talk to somebody. And she just couldn't understand that. She said, no, we got to go through this. And I tried to explain it to her guys as best as I can, but it just didn't play out as I wanted to. But here's the interesting part. I was very worried about taking her to the emergency room because I was worried that they were going to keep her again. Because the last couple of times she was in an emergency room, they shipped her to a mental hospital, and she was there for a whole week, and I couldn't see her, and it was just it's always a bad experience for me and for her. It's never a good experience. That place is very dehumanizing, demoralizing too, and they need to fix it. But anyways, I was worried about taking her because I already know the routine, and I told her, look, I won't see you for a whole week. If that's what you want to be on a set schedule, you want to be taken away, your phone will be taken away, you won't have your freedom, no coffee, because she loves coffee. You're gonna have to eat when they tell you to eat. You're gonna have to wake up, take a shower when they tell you. You can watch TV when they tell you. Strange people are gonna come see you in the room. You might have to share a room with a strange person. If that's what you want, I won't get to see you when you want me to. I can't call you when I want to. If that's what you want, then fine, I'll take you. And for a couple of weeks ago, I pulled up to the emergency room, and she said, never mind, Mom, let's just go out to eat. So I was like, because she didn't want to get out the car. And I was like, I'm not going in. You go in, you handle it. If that's what you want. Okay, I had to end that video because she was calling me. She has an interview today, and I'm gonna take her before I go to work. So I snuck out of the house to do my cardio real quick, and she's just, I guess, checking in, make sure I take her. But anyways, getting back to what I said about the emergency room. So I pulled up to the emergency room a couple of weeks ago, and she didn't want to get out the car. So which she changes her mind 20 times in a minute. That's how it is. Drives me crazy, but whatever. And we went out to eat. I was like, all right, let's go. We went to do groceries and we went to Olive Garden and everything was fine. We went home and everything was fine. A week later, which is this past week, she decides to complain again. She wants to do therapy. She wants to go take her to the emergency room because she wants to do therapy. And I said, listen, you don't have to go to the emergency room. The same way you make phone calls to look for a job and set up appointments for interviews and check your email and all that stuff, the same way you can do that looking for an outpatient clinic where they have therapy programs available for you. That's the same way you could call, you could set up appointments, you could go and register, check if see if they accept your insurance. You could do all that stuff. I didn't want to do everything for her. So then she didn't want to do that. She was very persistent, started getting verbally aggressive, and I said, okay. She was in the victimizing mode at that point, very deeply. And I said, okay. I was worried about dropping her off because, like I said, I've been through this a few times and I didn't want to lose her for a whole week and go through all that transition again because it's just so frustrating, very emotional for me as a mom. But I was like, all right, fine, I'll take you. I went in with her. I sat there with her. The rooms have changed in the emergency room at that particular hospital for those particular type of patients that my daughter was going in. And I thought that was kind of strange. I asked questions and they said, oh, we're doing this for the safety of our staff and for the safety of them. And I'm like, well, is she going to get a pillow or a blanket or something? Because I remember a few times, oh, and she had that, and they're like, oh no, we have to monitor her and then we might give it to her depending on her behavior. And I was like, no TV, nothing. And I was just like, it's gotten more dehumanizing, I think. But whatever, that's another story, another video for me to vent on, because trust me, I have some shit to say about that. Because I had a one-on-one little I just listened to that nurse just recently. But I'm getting off topic, and I do this all the time, and I hate this because, like I said, I still suck at making these videos and how to express myself, I just don't have the time, guys. I really don't. Like, my job, my personal goals, my daughter situation consumes me so much that I only have a certain amount of time in the day, just like you guys do. But getting back to the emergency room, because I need to finish that. So she stayed, and I was like, all right, I won't see you. I got to go home, because I stayed with her for an hour that night, this past Monday night. And I said, I got to go home, get ready. I got to go to work. This is it. I got to leave. And she was just like, can you stay? And I was like, no, I can't. I told you this is the way it's going to be. You're going to get shipped away to a mental health hospital. And she was really quiet, really down. The nurse... and then I had a couple conversations with a staff member there that had to monitor her and watch her. And the nurse also came in, and they were like, oh, depend on her behavior. She's here to just get some resources for therapy, so we could give that to her depending on her behavior and how she cooperates with us. She could probably go home tonight. And I was like, oh my God, I was so joyful, is how I describe it. It was just a joy that I felt in my heart, because I was like, oh, my daughter gets to come home tonight. And then she said, well, he said, it's not guaranteed, but it's possible. And I said, oh, that's good enough for me. I'll take that. So I said, I'm going to go home. If I have to come back, I'll come back. So I went home, got myself ready, took my makeup off, put my PJs on, thinking I'm going to sleep. And then I get a phone call from the social worker, and she asked me questions about my daughter, asking her history, asking what she's gone through and stuff like that, so they have an idea. And she only gave me a few minutes because she was very rushing to get off the phone. I was like, oh, whatever. So I gave her a little brief detail about her history, and she said, okay, well, she's been cooperating and everything's okay, and it looks like the doctor's going to release her in an hour and a half. And I was like, okay, I'll be there to pick her up. That's all you need to say. So I went and I picked her up. And so here's the interesting part. I was wrong, for one. I was wrong, because I thought they were going to ship her away. If that was the case, I would have taken her 2 weeks ago. I would have been like, let's go. I would have volunteered to open the door for her in the emergency room and say, come on, let's go get the resources that you need. And then we'll go home, and then we'll take care of the rest. So I was wrong. That's one. But the other thing I wanted to say was, I thought it was pretty interesting is that you have people from outside trying to tell you what's best for your daughter, what's best for your child. You got just people in general. It could be friends, co-workers, it could be a family member that they're very critical and they always like to judge and put their 2 cents and tell you what's they think it's best and that they think you should do. And I've heard this before. Oh, go get her help. Oh, she needs therapy. You're not her therapist, Erica. I've heard that one too. That was pretty interesting because I'm more than her fucking therapist. I'm her mother, which is way better than her goddamn therapist. But anyways, because I know more about my daughter. But here's the interesting part that I'm going to share with you guys real quick. I've learned something from my daughter. She changed her mind. That's what I wanted to say. I've learned that my daughter will say she wants to do something and then she'll go through the procedure, but she won't finish it and she won't do it. She just goes through the experience. She wants to get therapy. She thought that she needed to go to the hospital and she got all the resources she needed. And I asked her, so are you going to take care of that? So are we going to make the appointment? Are we going to call? She said, oh, no, never mind. I changed my mind. I don't want to do therapy. That's the crazy part. People will tell you, oh, she needs therapy. How the fuck do they know what she needs when in reality she doesn't need it or she doesn't want it, or I'm not going to force her? That's another thing. I am not going to force her to take therapy. I'm not against therapy. I was all for it, but I'm not going to force my daughter, and I'm not going to try to, oh no, you got to take therapy. No, I'm not. I'm sorry. That's just not my path. So she taught me that she doesn't really want therapy, and that she taught me that, I'm sorry, I just got distracted. And she said that, oh, it's not like that. They don't really want to help me in the hospital. I thought they were going to do this or that. And I was just like, you wanted the therapy. So now we got the information. Just make the phone calls. And she said, no, I changed my mind. I was like, okay. And so right after that, she went and started applying for other jobs. And now she has an interview today at 9:30. And I'm going to take her for the experience. Do I believe that she's ready for a job? No, I don't. She still has a lot of things to overcome emotionally. But I'm going to support her. Absolutely. I'm going to take her to the interview. And I guess we'll see. But I think what I've learned that go with the flow. I'm not as scared as I used to be. I'm not as worried as I'm used to be. I'm about her going away to these hospitals. And there was a conversation with the nurse, but I will leave that for another video because I got to do my cardio real quick and then pick her up and take her to this interview before I go to work.